Welcome into the Radical Roots podcast, where we dig deep to reach high, and of course, always progress through action. I am your co-host, Payron Baxter.
And I'm your co-host, Ram Sandoval. How y'all doing? It's been a little while.
It's been a little while. It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you without a podcast for you to do. Listen, we're not getting into the Aaliyah bag right now, but no, it has been a month of Sundays again. How have you been? Catch our audience up with what's been going on in your world.
Yeah, I was traveling quite a bit. As you know, working on the startup. Getting some traction there, and
Nice.
It's been an adventure for sure. Time consumer, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on, so it's try to balance work with life and everything that's going on in this world with politics, and I wouldn't even water it down to just calling it politics, right? But it's a whole new world, so that's where we're at.
Whole new world, he says. You're right, man. But as we know, it's Women's History Month, and I've been trying to hold it down with the roots rundown in the mornings. Just trying to keep people abreast of modern topics and things that are going on since our main episodes. But this is our bread and butter. This is where folks tune in. This is where they dig in deep. This is where they want to see the real political discourse. This is where they want to see how we talking about what we talking about. But it's been good. It's been good. We've been gaining followers, been gaining, people that donate, people that are joining the Roots Heads. That is the official name of our fan base, Ron. Just so you know, they're the Roots Heads.
Okay.
So we've been gaining more Roots Heads left and right. It's been good. It's been good. So, but as I said, this is Women's History Month, and I went to an event with the New World Project, which is a local a nonprofit that does volunteer and voter registration work and kind of just really civic engagement work, really focusing on the Black and brown communities. I've been a part of this for years. Their FADE, which stands for like fruitful and Cynthia's gonna kill me, like fruitful and something conversations. It's FADE is the acronym. It's at a barbershop. So you just Black people talking to Black people at a barbershop, and then curls was for the women. And and that was from a couple years ago, and they brought it back, and I definitely can't tell what curls is. I don't. I'm not about to attempt it. It's Women's History Month, Ron. We're not going to do that.
Absolutely.
But they brought it back a few weeks ago, and I met this amazing doctor, Dr. Jennifer Montgomery, and we had it was kind of an open round table discussion about health, and I was like, man, this was before it was March. I was like, I would love for her to come on, and lo and behold, we got her. We got her. She's here. So if you want to bring her on, we'll introduce her to our Roots Heads, and then we'll jump right in, if that's okay.
It is okay. Oops, there we go.
Uh-oh. There she goes. Oh, Dr. Jennifer Montgomery. That's the crowd. That was the crowd cheering. You couldn't hear all that. How are you, Doc?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you both?
Doing well.
Hanging in there.
So we're gonna let's read Dr. Now, do you want to go by Jennifer, Dr. Montgomery? Because we've had doctors on, and sometimes they're like, keep the doctor, keep it cash.
You can call me Jennifer. It's all good.
We can call you Jennifer. But see, I want to lead with the respect. See that, sister?
I appreciate it.
Sister? You see that? I led with that. I wasn't going to just like, what's up, Jen? No, I'm not going to do that. But okay. But now that you said it's cool, it's cool. Jennifer's cool. Okay.
It's cool.
Dr. Jennifer M. Montgomery is a dedicated healthcare professional with expertise in pharmacy, clinical mental health, and health advocacy, holding a Doctor of Pharmacy, Master of Business Administration, and a Master of Arts in Clinical Mental Health Counseling. She's passionate about bridging the gap between physical and mental well-being while advocating for accessible healthcare. Dr. Montgomery currently serves as a clinical pharmacist for a managed care organization and a clinical mental health counselor associate at Thrive Counseling Services, PLLC. She is deeply committed to community service and dedicated to advancing both physical and mental health within underserved populations. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jennifer Montgomery.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for joining
Roots
us.
Heads, right? Yes. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, yes. So, before we get really deep in, how have you been? How has your Women's History Month been? How has your life been since the last time I ran into you? Just to give us a
Man,
quick rundown.
listen, I have been extremely busy. I have been working pretty much every day since you last saw me, but I am taking a much needed rest this weekend, so I'm excited to
Ooh,
be going away for the weekend. But I've been good. I've been good. I can't complain.
fantastic, fantastic. Well, just do a little icebreaker here. When we have guests on, we like to ask them what radicalized you. You know, the name of the podcast is the Radical Roots. So just play on words. What radicalized you this past week or today even? What radicalized? What moved you to think, move, or do something different?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I am a northerner through and through. And as you can
Mm,
imagine,
where from?
I am from Connecticut, the great
Connecticut.
state of
Oh,
Connecticut.
okay.
Uh, love the tri-state area, just don't love the taxes and the cold weather.
Right,
So
right, right,
what
right.
radicalizes me is people that know how to drive. So
Mm,
if I
mm.
can beg people to not use the left lane as a cruising lane and
Yes,
move
yes.
accordingly. I know the speed limit might be 70, but for those of us who like to go a little bit of 75, if you can move over to the right and let us
Right,
go,
right.
we'd greatly apappreciate it.
Now, are
Especially
you
when you're on those 2-lane highways.
Yes.
You're doing the road trip.
Yes, 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 yes,
now
yes,
are you
yes.
like a super aggressive driver? Are you a horn leaner? My wife is a horn leaner. Are you a horn
No,
leaner?
no, 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 no. I feel like I drive with a mission. I
Okay.
feel like I drive on a mission. I drive with a purpose, no matter where I'm going. Yes, yes. That's how
Because
I'll describe it like that.
my wife, she does a lot of the cursing at the people. I'm like, they can't hear you. They can't hear
No,
you in that car. Like, I know you yelling at them. They can't hear you.
nah, I don't need to use my horn. I just feel like, and I don't need to be on your bumper or nothing like that. I just feel
Okay.
like, you should be self-aware even when you're on the highway and realize that
Mm.
we got places to go and I want to get there safely, but I want to get there in a timely fashion. There's nothing to see on 485.
There's nothing, nothing.
There's
Lots of
nothing. There's nothing to see.
more 485 is what you're gonna see.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
okay, awesome, awesome. Ron, what has radicalized you since the last time we've met?
Oh, geez. Take your pick. You know what? I think this will be a good episode because I could probably use a little bit of mental health healing and myself. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I know we're trying to keep it fun, but to be honest, yeah, there's a lot of things that could radicalize me in the last couple of weeks alone. So.
All right, okay. It seems like just life in
Oh,
general.
you know what I get? You know what I do? I said like
Okay.
the people hating on In and Out when Michael B. Jordan went to In and Out, and they're like,
Oh yeah.
In and Out's
Are
not
they
that good.
really?
I think In and Out is great. I don't think it's necessarily the
I've
best
heard that it's
burger, but
mid.
it is the
It's
best burger
okay.
you can get for the best bang you can get, right, for your buck, because you can get a burger for about $5, a double for like $6.50, and it's a classic. I hated it when I was a kid and I lived in California. Now
Mm,
that I'm nowhere near it, when I'm in Vegas or California, that's my go-to.
okay, that's solid. That's a solid answer.
Okay.
For me, it is spam calls. I am so sick and tired of my phone telling me potential spam, and it's spam. I don't know about with no damn 822 number. It might be spam or telemarketer. And since this new administration, I feel like they sold all of our data, and now I'm getting phone calls all the time from different places. And we have
Mhm.
a loan ready for you to, if you just, we've already talked to you 10 weeks ago. Like, I haven't signed up for none of this. So I'm sick of the spam calls. I'm sick of the spam texts as well. Can I donate $5? I'm tired of that too. How did everybody get my damn number? But that's kind of where I am because I feel like, I mean, do you guys get the spam calls?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I actually
Yes.
pay for services to try to get my information removed as much as possible from all that
Mm.
junk. So
Is it
it's
working?
it's hard to tell. Some days I get like 10 calls, and some days there's nothing. So we'll see.
Okay.
All
All right.
right.
Well, Well, we are now radicalized and we are buzzing. So, but just Doc, just to kind of dig into you before we get into the more the holistic questioning. But if you could
Mhm.
just maybe give our audience, some perspective. Can you remember a time back when before you realized you were either a black or a woman, or when you first realized you were black and a woman, and what that moment was? Was it a bunch of internecine situations at the same time? Or was it kind of like this moment, like, oh, hold on, I'm a black woman in the world, I'm a black girl in the world? I mean, because a lot of us is at a young age, but like, when was that for you?
Well, I think it was probably around junior high, or what people call middle school.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a Catholic school in
Mm,
Connecticut, and you're developing as a middle schooler, and I was only maybe one or two black girls in the middle school. Um, and I went to Catholic school from pre-K through actually 12th grade, but it was around that time of junior high, middle school that I realized that, and growing up in a Baptist church, but going to Catholic school throughout the week, that
mm,
my life is different.
mm,
Like my quote unquote friends, their experience is different. Their families are different. How they see the world is different. How they interpret the world is different, right? Like how what their parents feed them is different. Even
mm,
church was always different, but now I'm really, really experiencing things differently and seeing how I personally choose to or want to maybe live is different, right? Um, and how I'm making choices even towards thinking about college. My every day to day when I go home, the shows I watch, the things I like, my friends outside of school are different, and it really kind of hit home during that time period.
mm.
so you were more living single, and they're talking about you see what Ross did on Friends, and
Yeah,
you're like,
absolutely, absolutely.
now, did you have to code switch back then? Were you like, okay, well, does that when a lot of time we're kind of formative, formulating how to code switch? Was that beginning then too?
If I remember correctly, no, no, not at all.
Okay.
I think I was coming into my own, and they were coming into their own. And I even remember falling out with one of my friends, and mm, forgive me, I cussed her out because I think I realized then that I don't know if it was racism so much, but it was
Mm,
that I had a voice, and I really didn't care that she felt a certain type of way. Maybe I had to be a little more docile
mm,
in some spaces,
Mm.
but I realized that I had to speak up for myself a little bit more in some ways too, because being from the north was probably a little bit different than maybe some of the experiences that some of my friends and my family, even because my family is rooted in the south, but I grew up in the
right.
north.
Hmm.
But I remember just having moments of realizing that my blackness was very evident in the classroom, and that the teachers knew me as Jennifer. Also, my brother had been to the same school too, so it was like there was more and more evidence of I'm black, I'm in this classroom, I'm one of like two people, and
Mm,
I'm different. Maybe not so much in a bad way at the
right.
moment, but I've got
Right.
to speak up. I've got to raise my hand. I've got to say what I got to say. I'm going to have to do this, or I may not get noticed, or I may get noticed more.
Mm.
Mm. Well, and then it sounds like in just more within your life. So then you went on to college, and where'd you go to school?
First, North Carolina State, then Campbell University. Hmm.
The Campbells. My wife went there
Hmm.
for her first year. That's the only reason I even know about Campbell. Okay, what made you want to go into in healthcare? What made you go in that direction?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in healthcare. My parents both worked at Yale New Haven Hospital. Spent a lot of time there. I don't know if I should say this or not, but back when you could bring your kid to school, kid to work after
Oh,
school,
really?
I hung out in the hospital. I hung
Hmm.
out right by the morgue, in the
Nice.
pharmacy, in the basement. Fun times, right? So I saw a lot of interesting things. I spent a lot of time in pharmacy. My dad was a pharmacy technician for over 40 years. So it's kind of all I knew for the most part. A lot of my family worked at Yale New Haven Hospital, so that's where I kind of hung out. So that's what kind of pushed me into healthcare.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then as we're centering this clearly on Women's History Month. We talked
Yeah.
about through Black women
Mhm.
and the importance of centering health. In your experience, we've talked to Black women on the show multiple times. I talk to Black women a lot in my personal life, and it's just the disconnect sometimes in the trust they have with the medical system. And I think seeing someone like yourself is very reassuring. Seeing someone like yourself who's very sure of themselves and confident and understands. And again, from it seems like since middle school, you don't put up with no shit. That is the type of people that I think kind of reassures us when we go into those rooms. Has that been your experience? Have people told you this over the years that like seeing you or like they trust your judgment when it comes to because you in pharmacy, right? Like it's just
Mhm.
how you view the prescriptions. Like how does that interplay with just the patient?
Honestly, that's not always the case.
Mm.
It really depends on where you are. I've worked in rural areas where it's been predominantly Black, and still you'll have, unfortunately, Black people who will say, well, who do you think you are?
Mm.
Do you think you're better than me? Do you think you know more than me?
Mm.
Where'd you come from? You coming all the way from, true story, you came all the way from Charlotte working here. Why are you down here? Did they
Mm.
put you here for a reason? Tell me something you think I don't know? But I've also had the more positive experience of like, I'm so happy you're here. Good to see someone like you. I trust your judgment. I want to know everything that I can know. So I've had it on both sides. Now
Mm.
that's an unfortunate experience because obviously I would love to see someone like me. I want to see someone like me. I want to hear their experience. So it really, I think it depends on the intersection of people's experience with various people, and where you're from, what your experience has been in healthcare, and what you're willing to receive at the
Do
moment
you
too.
do you think like the people that were like, who are you, and was there a correlation with age as well, like older generations, or I feel like there's definitely been a stigma in older generations, especially like in the Black community, of like talking to mental health professionals, or that there's something wrong with you, that's kind of looked down upon, right? Do you see that kind of with the age as well, or?
I do. I think I'm newer to mental health than I am to pharmacy. I've been in pharmacy now. This will be, oh gosh, 20 years as a licensed
Wow.
pharmacist, and 20, 26 years actually working in pharmacy. I just graduated from my mental health program in 2024, but I've actually been working in mental health total between pharmacy and now being a therapist several years. So mental health has definitely been in my background for a long time. But I do think that age can play a difference with how mental health is perceived. I think in the last few years, we've been more open to hearing about mental health. We don't shy away from it as much. We don't brush it underneath the rug. It's more open in the media, social media. We're talking about it more. There's more access to care, not as much as I'd like, of course. But I think older generations are talking about it a little more, but their access in terms of, especially in terms of insurance, is not as good. I think they don't talk
Mm.
about it as much, and I also think that they've been shamed for even needing care, especially when they were younger. So I did think that does make a difference in terms of talking about it. The word crazy has been thrown around for so long. We use it in jokingly, we use it seriously. I think there's a lot of stigma that lies behind it, especially in the Black community.
Mhm. We had a question, or you have a question. Why did you make the switch? And I guess from pharmacy to therapy, or mental
Is it
health.
a
Like,
switch or
is it really a switch? Yeah.
Oh, no,
is
it's
it
not a switch at all. I actually do both.
right?
I do
Okay.
both,
Right.
actually.
Yeah.
Good
I
question,
mean,
though.
of course, she's a
Um,
Black woman. Of course, she's a pharmacist and a therapist. Of course,
Oh, I do it all. Yeah, I do it
of
all.
course.
Well, technically, I do. No, I work as a clinical pharmacist during the day, and I'm a part-time clinical mental health counselor in the evening. So it's all about marrying both. I find that there's your mental health goes hand in hand with your physical health. So I'm always talking about both, not necessarily from the side of just pushing medicine or talking about medicine, but always reminding people about how they go hand in hand. Every talk that I do, every presentation that I do, I'm reminding people about how they affect one another. So that's what I like to do. And I always did that, even when I was just a pharmacist. I spent time working in the psych hospital during my residency. I did a residency at Yale New Haven Hospital. Even when I was doing that, I love talking about both sides of it, right? Because if you let one go, the other one's bound to go. So I'm always talking about both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think and to Rob's point about the generational gap and the generational, we kind of talked about this at the barbershop, but like I think there's also the you know the cultural misunderstanding of mental health, where like that's not really for us.
Right.
And in this country, health was never really for us as Black people. It was always meant to be for white people. It was never meant for us, right? It's where we get fat phobia. It's where we get a lot of the drapetomania, being able to, oh, you're crazy because you want to run away from this plantation. All these things were put on us that how dare you not like this. So
Yeah.
I've always thought that our reaction sometimes only helps the machine to move onward over our bodies and to
Yeah.
throw us to the wind, because if we can say that you're crazy for not liking the conditions that you're in, we're basically saying you can abuse us all day long. And because I think there's a natural reaction to this rapacious exploitative system that we live within, that we've been born into, right? And I just in our community, I think I said this at the barbershop, but like in our community, mental health has been stigmatized, therapy has been stigmatized, and pain has been spiritualized or buried. And how do you combat that when you're dealing with people? Because as we talk about these generational things, my mother, I remember growing up, the concept of mental health was like, that's for white people. That ain't for us. We're strong, right? There's over emphasis on strong. There's over indexation of Black girl magic and Black boy magic. It's like, well, I'm sad too today. I'm hurt today too. Like, how do we combat that? Or how do you combat that? And how do you think we should combat that out here in the regular world?
Yeah. We talk about strong and Black girl magic and perseverance and pushing through and keep going, and it's going to get better and all that. First thing I ask people especially when I'm counseling in terms of Black women, what's the benefit? Well, how has it benefited you being strong? One of the first questions, like, what does strong mean? What does that, and what does weak mean? Like, what's the problem with being weak? Because usually you'll get that, oh, if I'm weak, people will judge me. They'll look at me this way, then it will look at me that way. And you're like, well, then what? Because if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of everyone else, right? And we glorify being so strong and persevering at the risk and at the expense of our health, our mental health included, until we give and we give and we give until we can't give anymore. So we have to have the conversation about, when do we have space for ourselves to rest? I talked about earlier that I'm taking a purposeful day of rest. We talked about at the barbershop about exercising, and there's a day of rest planned in the program. So we celebrate so much going and going and going, but we never talk about why we had to keep going. Survival. It was survival. So we're constantly historically in survival mode. And then that masks anxiety, that masks depression, that masks suicidal ideations, that masks trauma. We're doing it because we feel like we have to. And sometimes we don't, but we don't talk about that. And then we celebrate it. And then we keep going. And then we celebrate it. And then we keep going. What's the problem with stopping for a moment and just being, right? We have to have that conversation with just existing and resting.
Yeah. But I think all that even goes back to the plantation, right? Like, where you had to always look busy. There's a reason why we cover our mouths when we laugh. There's a reason why we run away when we laugh. All these things are like epigenetically put into us, that like you have to always seem busy. You can't see. I mean, during after enslavement ended, then they had loitering laws and vagrancy laws. Thank you.
Yeah,
You couldn't just stand around. You had to look busy. You had to move your hands and do some shit. So now we're like at a point where like it's where we are in the workforce, where I think we go to. All three of us are professionals, and it's like when you go into the office, you got to. We know the old phrase, right? You got to be twice as good to get half the outcome. Or to Michael B. Jordan, he had to play 2 roles to get 1 Oscar. Like it's to that point. It's how we operate, and we look at that like, man, that's the paragon. But in reality, what does that do to our immune system? What does that do to our sleep cycles? What does that do to our ability to regulate our muscle productions or our bone density? Talk about how that stress wears on the body.
Oh, it puts us probably even more than twice at risk for diseases, heart disease, for immune issues, getting sick, having the flu, having viruses, being not recovering as fast, cancers, all of these things that come up, and then we're like, okay, and then we'll work through that. Even we'll say, okay, well, we'll come back to work. We're not going to wait the 48 to 72 hours to recover. It puts us at risk for worsening mental health diseases. It puts our families at risk for being sick, because then they can't take care of themselves. They don't know how to take care of themselves. So it kind of just puts down a trickle down effect for diseases that you may see regular symptoms that we see in a textbook being doubled the symptoms of what you would see in our counterparts, because we're overworking ourselves. And then by the time you get the diagnosis, you're already so far along in the disease.
I think I go back to, I feel like, even myself, like trying to, give myself intentional time to break and, rest. And I find it hard it felt guilty doing it. Right. And I look back
Certainly.
at like my mother, my grandmother, both Black women. My mom was a single mother, primarily raised by my grandmother and my mom. And, my mom would say, strong Black woman, and which she is, but I feel like there was, kind of a shield in this, like, I have to, keep things going. And, my grandmother, from, cleaning houses, and she taught me about, mopping the floors on her hands and knees. And matter of fact, like, but even growing up, that's continued how she mopped the floors, right? And then ultimately becoming a teacher and, helping, raise, my mother and family and me and all of these things. And it's just like, and here I am, I have wife, 2 kids, and it still feels like a lot. And I'm like, I couldn't imagine doing this, by myself. My wife couldn't imagine doing it by herself. And there's a feeling of guilt a little sometimes when I do have time for myself. And I'm like, I should be working or doing something with the kids or something with my wife. Like, so it's hard. And I think especially when you have that kind of a conscious awareness that here's these things that are going on. So, kind of holding that mirror, I have a therapist, but like putting that mirror in front of you of like, I know that's hard. It's a hard balance.
It is. It is hard. It's hard for me too. I went many years as a pharmacist, not taking vacation and cashing it out until I ended up in the hospital. And then I was like, you know what? I said to myself, I was like, God, honestly, if it wasn't for my presence, if God hadn't placed me on this earth to be present, they would not have my presence. So therefore, I am going to give myself with a day of rest on my birthday, on any major holiday I feel, because why am I cashing out my vacation to get taxed?
Right.
Just to come back to be stressed out and then potentially go into the hospital again, be on medication that now I have to pay for.
Right.
From the money that I made that I'm getting taxed on. I just created a vicious cycle for myself, for them to be like, oh, well, Jennifer, like, sorry that happened to you. Can we schedule you for this 12, 13-hour shift?
But isn't that really endemic of what this country's been for us? We're like
Absolutely.
our bodies have always been disposable, and how do we now, as I'm not gonna say more evolved, because our ancestors been through stuff that I don't think any of us could even imagine what it was like living through. But now we're a moment in time where we have, I mean, a supercomputer in our pockets, right? We have access to so much information, access to so
Right.
much knowledge, and forethought. How do we now incorporate that into our lives if we live in a society that has never deemed our bodies, our lives, our minds, our safety as ever as a priority, right? And I hate to say it, it hasn't changed now, right? Where they're still finding brothers hanging from trees. We're still having the maternal mortality gap, which we're going to play a clip of that here in a second. We're still finding women getting paid less than men. All these things that are compounding, specifically on Black women, who we then put these wreaths of glory on, and say that you are the strongest, you are magical. But in reality, white women don't have to go through that as much. Lighter skinned Latino women don't have to go through that as much. So like, there's just this. At what point do we reclaim our health? What point do we reclaim our humanity? That's what it really is, right? Because if I can work you like a mule, I don't see you as a person. And mule might be different. Oh, well, you're a doctor. Well, I'm not working in the field. It's not the same thing. It's all the same thing, because you get the same 24 hours in a day. And if you're burnt out because you're burnt out, my mom was a nurse growing up, nurse practitioner. So I remember her working those 18-hour shifts and coming home and be dogged tired and got blood on her shoes. That's back when they used to put the white chalk stuff on the shoes to make the shoes really, really white, because there'd be blood on them and stuff and all kind of crazy stuff. But like, I remember she'd be dead tired and she had to wake back up and go get it. I'd have to make myself breakfast and get myself together all by myself, because she was at work all the time. But she got promoted and she was highly regarded. And now when we talk, her whole identity is wrapped around her being a nurse practitioner. I'm like, Mom, how are you doing? What's going on in your life? Well, I worked a 12-hour shift and I'm off Tuesday, but next Thursday I'm going. It's like, I feel like that's the end game is we start to thingify ourselves. And that's what Martin Luther King warned about, is a society not of things, but a society based on people. How do we get back to being people, Doc?
Great question. And I can't even begin to pretend that I have all the
Come
answers.
on. That's why we brought you on to have all the answers. What do you mean you have all the answers?
I'm sorry, I don't have all the answers, but I can say this. First, start recognizing where you personally as an individual can take back some of your time. So for me, for instance, I had opportunities as a pharmacist in my current role to potentially get promoted. Well, I asked, what does that mean? More time working, more this, more that, more paperwork, people that I have to manage. And I said, I don't want to do that, because I know what it looks like. I've been there, done that, right? And I realized that for some, that's necessary. You might need more money. You might need, what are all the things that come with it. But I had to balance the pros and cons. The money wasn't money in for me. The time that was going to be spent away from my daughter wasn't checking out for me. And I realized that I didn't want to stress myself out anymore. I wanted to get off at 5:00. That was currency for me. Stopping at 5 was currency for me, because I knew that I am the type of person that would probably work a little bit harder. 5:00 will become 5:30. 5:30 will become 7 real quick. And then I would be moving on, then doing something else. Then I'd be doing something with my sorority. Then I'd be doing a meeting. Then I'd be moving on. And then it'd be going into the weekends. So you have to start saying, you know what? I have to stop. But that's a personal conversation. Scheduling vacations. I schedule my vacation starting in January. I don't care. I don't know where I'm going.
Right, but I'm not being at work this week.
But I'm not going to work though.
Right,
I know that.
Right.
So every opportunity you can to start doing things for yourself, you start doing that. And then having conversations. Like we had the conversation at the barbershop about, when people start talking about it and it makes it real for others, like, do I do this? Am I overworking? Am I doing more than I have to? Sometimes you got to start balancing out your yeses and your nos. What are you saying yes to, and what are you saying no to? And you may be saying a lot more yeses than you think. Every time you turn around, if it's like, I got to go run and do this, or I got to run and do that, a lot of us don't know when to stop. Even when we think we're resting, we're not resting. And I talk to clients about that all the time, whether it's for a group, a community, a church, work, we're not getting the needed rest. And there's actually 7 different, I'm not going to go into this, but there's like 7 different types of rest that women actually need. And you have to figure out which type of rest you actually need and focus on that type of rest for you, because it may be different for you. Rest for me may be going to the nail shop, but for your friend, it may be doing some yoga, or for somebody else, it may be journaling, or maybe sleep for someone else. Figure out what your body needs at that moment and hone into that for that time, because that's going to help you rejuvenate.
You know, that's a good point too, that how, I mean, I don't know the 7 types of rest for women. I know that may shock you, Doc, that I don't know the 7 types of rest for women.
It's okay.
Sorry, I didn't come prepared with that. But I think it's interesting. We're at a time where the medical field, I learned one of the things that radicalized me to push me to learn more about women's health and women in general, and deconstruct my patriarchy, misogyny, was that like we just started studying women as kind of an industry, like within my lifetime,
Yes.
and hearing about how this administration is trying to get rid of the DEI, get rid of like studying women and studying different genders and just studying rest and all these things. I'm like, the outcomes of this cannot be good for women, right? And I think all of this is rooted in the white replacement theory, because white women ain't having enough babies. But like, if you're having a bunch of stressed out white women, or a bunch of stressed out women in general, I think for us, it puts us at a disadvantage. I talk about Arlene Geronimus's book Weathering, where she talks about how the weathering on our bodies as Black people starts at a very young age. So it's actually better for Black girls to have babies at a younger age, because the older we get, even kind of crossing 20s and 30s, it's a lot more precarious because of the spiked cortisol, spiked adrenaline, constant state of alertness, and how that may cause a pregnancy to be more harmful. Like, but like, I don't know where we can, I don't know how we pivot from that, right? Like, because if we're constantly on this hamster wheel, like, how do we do those 7 types of rest? Or how do we recognize when they're trying to erase all this stuff, to say like, you can't even sit with yourself? Because I feel like that's probably one of them. I don't know. I'm guessing sitting with yourself has to be somewhat, it's part of one of the 7.
Something similar.
Sure. Introspection, if you will.
By the way, I want to play a clip about introspection from one of these billionaires,
Mark Andreessen. Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yes. Oh my God, yeah. But like, they're erasing this stuff, right? They're trying to get rid of all this study. And what do you think the downstream effect of even studying women and studying the things that women need? Because you said there's 7 things that you said women need. There's 7 types of rest, and it made me think about the larger issue of like studying the things that women need. Like, what do you think the downstream effects of that will be in our society? Erasing that.
Oh, gosh, for me, I think, in my opinion, it would be completely negative, because, of course, like you said, the study of women's health, literally ramped up in like the 70s.
Yeah.
It started like in around the 70s, if I'm not mistaken.
Crazy.
And we're just now getting into like more women's maternity, rest theory, all of that in like the 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. So if we erase all that, along with all the other history we're trying to abolish, I mean, catastrophic, because what are people going to do when new diseases morph? And diseases are always morphing and turning into something else, right? And it can be worse for either men or women. Never know. So if you abolish all of that information that has been gained in this, even in this short amount of time that we've had, these short decades, especially the strides that have been made in terms of maternity for women, and we still have way to go. Yeah, I think it would be absolutely catastrophic for the world because we come from women. I mean, how can we even combat that if we get rid of all the health that we need to the health care that we need for women.
Right.
But I mean, unfortunately, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of shift a little bit, but I think technology is kind of the wild card. It's the gift and the curse. I think the idea of like, of rest. I like to unwind and look at Facebook and social media, and the next thing I know, I'm learning about 150 schoolgirls being bombed, and there's like this so much information coming at you. I think compared to a couple generations ago, where you'd have to wait till the newspaper or the evening news to learn about certain things. You could be you could be ignorant, not even willfully, but just like kind of information wouldn't be flowing at you so much and so much real time, and just having like this awareness of what's happening around you, this awareness of DI being attacked, this awareness of like women being attacked, and all of these things, this constant barrage. And I think that in itself contributes to a lot of the stress and what it just piles on. What I will say is like, and what I wanted to understand from you a little bit in your perspective, like with technology and what has historically been in poorer communities, in black communities, black and brown communities, the access to mental health, the access to healthcare in general has been poor, right? And so people who couldn't necessarily have access to those things, where there is technology, and I learned of people who are creating like holistic healthcare, like keeping more awareness of what's happening in people's daily lives, using the technology, and then kind of, I know that people are trying to find the balance of how do you protect people's information, and then also try to like track these things. But what I wanted to ask you, and something I kind of posed to my therapist at one point, is like, if there is an ability to treat people who don't necessarily have access to healthcare, like and go into a setting where you walk into a therapist. If there is a capability to do that through technology, and like, what is your feeling about that? Like, where you can treat 10 people, in your free time, if you will. Like, I guess you get what I'm trying to get at. Like, I'm just wondering, like, where you see
like the ease of use with technology.
Is
it better? Like you can meet 10 people, they don't have to come into the office.
How do you use it morally, but like also bordering like, is it moral to like leverage AI to help do more with less? Is kind of, I guess, what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think in terms of AI, I think there's a thin line right now. We have to be careful with it, because depending on how you word or say certain things, the output can be a little bit, I'll just say, incorrect in the information that is provided to a client. I do think there's a vast amount of information that is provided through AI that can be good. How we correct some of the information that's being provided that could be misleading or correct, or how someone may view the information that's provided through their lens, I'm not sure about that, because of course, depending on how you word something and put it into a computer and how you want to receive it back, that could be dangerous.
Yeah.
Of course, right? But other uses of technology that are coming out in mental health that I'm very excited about is you have mobile clinics that people are using, like setting up buses. Telehealth is getting more popular amongst therapists. People are becoming more comfortable with it, so it helps to reach more people. They're opening up the licensure for mental health professionals, because we are a little bit more strict in terms of counseling across state lines, and how we have to get licensed. So especially they opened it up during COVID, where you can kind of counsel people in different states, and they kind of close those restrictions again, but they're trying to help with reciprocity so that it's easier. So if you're in a rural area, maybe in like, I don't know, North Dakota, and you can't find a therapist there, you can possibly get someone in a neighboring state. But we do have to, back to your original question, we do have to be careful with like the AI and the bots, because my fear would be that with that type of technology, if someone can potentially hack in or read data or change wording, it can be a real slippery slope as to what could be moved into that space and what can be said. And you do have people who are viewing things from a trauma lens, or who could have ideations that can cause harm to others. So we just have to be careful, and I'm not quite sure how to navigate that quite yet.
Yeah, well, because there have been some situations where people have kids of younger people, right, if I'm not mistaken, that have committed suicide because they were engaging with the AI. And I'm not saying the future these things can't get better, but it does cause a cause for concern. But just to pivot here, I do have a clip I want to play for you, Doc. As we talk about, one of the biggest things that when people talk about Black women's health is, I'm sure you've heard it multiple times, it's one of our biggest issues within our community is maternal mortality. But it's also how we engage with the system, right? How we engage with the healthcare system when we are ready to give birth. My wife, when she gave birth to our daughter, she almost died afterwards. And she luckily had an eye appointment, and the doctor was like, "You need to go to the ER right now." And our baby was like a week old. And just that fear of unknowing, and like, do we get something wrong? Did the doctor get something wrong? So this clip here kind of teases it up of how we're usually pushed towards away from our more holistic things that we know. I mean, like doulas are things that came from, from a time of midwifery to how we interact with the system itself for money. So I'm going to play this clip here, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Her husband's gone with the baby because they asked the baby to leave, so she'll be here giving birth all by herself.
Our doula client, who we're supporting, is desiring to have us here.
From the nurses, I'm going to ask you both to leave.
Under what grounds are you asking?
Visitation privilege.
So her husband...
I can get the policy on the visitation privilege.
Before you make that decision.
When it's impeding with care and the nurses, then it becomes an issue.
How are we impeding with her care?
I'm not going to get into that. That's what the
So she's by herself. Her husband's gone with the baby because they asked the baby to leave, so she'll be here giving birth all by herself. He had to leave with his daughter. So that means she's going to be in this room all by herself.
Couldn't one of you or both of you leave?
Because
she's requesting we're not medically interfering. We're literally sitting here. But because we're sitting here now, all of a sudden we're medically interfering and we have to leave.
That's my understanding.
But she has no one.
How is that understanding?
The nurse is right there.
I've been making my own decisions and making my own consent.
We have
done nothing.
She has a mouth. We're just here to support her, giving her hip squeezes. She's going to be in this room by herself.
I've been here 5 hours with no pain medication whatsoever.
We are not speaking for her.
When it comes to medical, I don't get involved.
She's going to be in this room by herself to give birth.
She can speak for herself. They have no grounds to put us out of this room. Not at all.
So just the fear. One of the moments that we bring life into this world, or women bring life into this world, is also one of the times they're closest to death. Doulas have been a thing that a lot of Black women have been becoming more engendered towards, because if they feel safer, they feel more comfortable. It's usually of a Black woman who's there, who understands them, and isn't just as clinical, as cold. Seeing that clip and the fears that Black women may have as it relates to childbirth and maternal mortality, what are your thoughts on how they were treated? Or do you think it was done in the right way? I mean, the cops came at the end. I don't think anytime we interact with police is good. But like, what are your thoughts on that clip?
Well, outside of being a healthcare worker, first of all, being a mom and being someone who went through labor, of course, I am just astonished. That really bothered me. It made me angry. It really made me angry. No, of course not. Of course they didn't do the right thing. I don't know. I was sitting there thinking, on what grounds or what prompted the you need to leave? I mean, the visitation thing is strange to me. I had my child at night. Like, there is no visitation hours when you're in labor. Like, you're in labor.
When you're in labor.
I had my family in the room waiting anxiously for my daughter. So I don't understand the policies by which they would have had that in place whatsoever. It definitely sparked a thought in my head about advocacy and just how they tried to advocate for her, and what more could she have done in that moment? I'm not sure. I don't know what led up to it, but just constantly thinking about advocating for yourself and having people around to advocate for you and making sure that everything is possible, calling the administration, getting the number to the administration. I don't care what type of night it is, knowing people in the healthcare system, knowing where was her doctor at, like the person that was going to deliver the baby, like who was the person talking to her, the nurse? I don't know who was able to, the guy was able to say, well, I don't make the rules, but whatever he was saying, like,
right.
How did this get, I don't know. I have so many thoughts racing through my head, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is kind of going back to the technology. Like, these are the things that I think have been happening for, I mean, decade, forever, right? And like,
yeah,
and it takes, we have, like, it's kind of the gift and the curse. Like, we have this video and people see it and it becomes more real, and we sit here and look at it and we empathize with it. We feel sadness, we feel anger, and we want to do something about it, and often feel helpless in kind of that state of just
absolutely
being conscious and going into this like constant rage. But it's like, very similar to police brutality, especially against Black folks. And like, if it's not on video, then it didn't happen. And it's like, we rely on these things to be on video for people to like believe that it's happening. And like, or even worse, that it takes, it happening to a white person, like Alex Preddy and Renee Good. And then it becomes more real. And it's like, why does it have to be this way? And it's like, for me, it drives me nuts, right? Because like, I'm glad that we're seeing these things and we're becoming more aware as a society, but then like, as a society, we see it happening, and then we're like, are we really doing anything about it, right? And I think that that's what's driving me nuts. When I continue to see these things and it just keeps happening over and over again. That's all I want to say. But
one thing Black women ain't gonna do is stop having kids. That's one thing. The highest rates of pregnancy in the United States of America are Latino and Black people. So one thing is, we gonna procreate, okay? We gonna make some beautiful Black babies. But the double-edged sword is that we die. I have 2 frat brothers that don't have the mother of their children. Both died during childbirth.
I'm so sorry.
There's different times, and I just ran into one of them a few months ago at the gym, and he got remarried. But somehow he still stumbled onto his son's now is my son's 10 years old. His son's like 8. Somehow we're at the gym. We somehow stumbled on. Yeah, man, I still can't believe she died. It was in October. We were talking about his new wife. And he wasn't like comparatively oh my new wife comparative, but just somehow this conversation naturally came to the conclusion of like, man, make sure you go to the right doctors, because look, remember what happened to my baby mama. Remember what happened to that. It's like, to Rob's point, is the helplessness, and and when we don't want to examine it because they're getting rid of the DEI, they're getting rid of the studies, and don't worry about that. And we're all even. We all have good health care. We all come from generational wealth. We all come from places with great grocery stores and great health care and great jobs. And that's not us, right? We are stressed.
It's not. It's not.
And seeing that, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. I'm just like, what more do we have to do? And they say that the same reason white men join the police force is the same reason white women join nurses, right? There's a certain level of like, I don't have power in the society, but I'm going to have power over these black bodies. So when I tell white women who are in healthcare how they can disrupt, is listen to that black woman one more time. Run those charts one more time. Don't just I'm just right. No, listen to her. Check your bias, because get into a situation like that video we just saw where everybody felt powerless and then the police were brought in. That can't be the right way.
Yeah, this comment was from earlier, but I think there is, like, we talk about black girl magic and whether it's like supernatural, spiritual, but more along the lines of, definitely along the lines, I could say, of having the experience of being a black woman, one, having to live in a patriarchal society, a society that's centralized around men, but then also prioritized around first white men, then white women, and kind of that whole thing. And so that perspective, having that perspective, and I think it's valuable. And I do think, like, if we as a society listen to black women more, we would be in a much better place, right? Because of having those experiences of understanding and being like going through these experiences and this, oppressions and all of these things. And it's like, it's a lot. I want to play a clip as well. This Andreessen, because I think the way that I'll line this up is, and I want to get your perspective. And I know I'm kind of keep going back to tech, and I think that plays a lot of it.
That's okay.
But we're going into and I'm an AI tech guy, right? But like, we're going into this era of AI where we just talked about, the hallucinations and the things of AI telling you what you want to hear and being potentially detrimental. And I think there is a fear of like AI, replacing humans, and of these people who have this technology, the Elon Musk of the world, and being overly capitalistic. Anyways, let me play it, and I kind of want to get your perspective.
Sure,
I don't know
sure.
if you've seen this yet. Let's see here.
I don't have any sound.
Don't have any sound?
Oh, nope. You don't have the sound? Let me give me 1 second. I don't know why that would be. All right, let me.
Oh, you know what? Hey, let me see something. I think I might know why I'm wrong. Is this the video? Where's your video? Oh, I can't edit it on my side. It's on your side. If you click inside of the little bubble at the top where our faces are, and then click at all the videos, it might have a sound bar. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, for some reason it does not. I know what you're talking about. Let me just replace this here. Let me try this again. Okay. Well, I'll try again in a minute.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can kind of give a quick rundown of this video. I've seen this video. If it doesn't work,
Sure.
You want to try to do it? Okay, so this is Mark Andreessen, CEO of was it Horowitz? I forget the name of the firm, the venture capitalist firm he owns. Let's see if you got.
Let me try one more time. Yeah.
Have any levels of introspection?
There it is.
Yes, 0, as little as possible.
Why?
Move forward. Go.
Yeah, I don't know. I found people who dwell on the past get stuck in the past. It's a real problem, and it's a problem at work, and it's a problem at home.
So I've read obviously 400, I think now 10 biographies of history-based entrepreneurs,
Yep.
and that was one of the most surprising things. Like, what's the most surprising thing that you've learned from this? So like, oh, they have little or zero introspection.
Yep.
Like Sam Walton didn't wake up thinking about his internal self. He just woke up, was like, I like building Walmart. I'm going to keep building Walmart. I'm going to make more Walmarts, and just kept doing it over and over again.
And you probably know, if you go back before 100 years ago, it never would have occurred to anybody to be introspective. Like, it's the whole idea of, I mean, just all of the modern conceptions around introspection and therapy and all the things that kind of result from that are, kind of manufactured in the 1910s, 1920s.
Say more about that.
Great men of history didn't sit around doing this stuff at any prior point, right? It's all a new construct. So first Western civilization had to kind of invent the concept of the individual, right? Which was like a new concept, several hundred years ago. And then, for a long time, it was, all right, the individual runs, right? And like does all these things and builds things and, builds empires and builds companies and builds technology, does all these things. And then, kind of this kind of guilt-based whammy, kind of showed up from Europe, a lot of it from Vienna in the 1910s, 1920s, Freud and all that entire movement, and kind of turned all that inward and basically said, okay, now we need to basically second guess the individual. We need to criticize the individual. The individual needs to self-criticize. Right. The individual needs to feel guilt, needs to look backwards, needs to, dwell on the past. It never resonated with me.
Oh boy.
Well,
the problem, what I have, I think what I, these are the people that this is one of the biggest investors in Silicon Valley, the Facebooks, Airbnb, Lyft, all of this technology, the people who control AI. Is like the way that I perceive what he's saying is like, and we've talked about on this show several times about, to be a CEO and to be this capitalist, you have to. There's an archetype of like what seems to me is like borderline sociopathic behavior, right? Like there's something missing with these people, and it's like where you can just disregard, is Elon Musk and going with Doge and disregard the fact that you're indirectly, harming or killing 500,000 people, right? With the actions you're taking, and we're ushering in this technology that is, I do believe, a risk to humanity in itself, right? And it's like. And we have people like this who are controlling it, and people who, I have a startup, and these are the type of people I'm talking to and trying to like be a capitalist. But I'm an empathetic person. I'm a person who does have introspection. And it's like, I actually, and I think they're wrong. I've worked at companies where empathy was a core value, and culture was valued, but it was, and it's I don't know if it's a but like my company was. That had a very good company culture was owned by a woman. The president was a woman, and it does concern me that like men are more like just you don't need to reflect on anything. Just do it. Whoever gets hurt, whatever harm you cause, whatever the technology this caused it, like it's, and I think it's very scary, right? And to say like the Pete Hegseths and the Donald Trumps of the world that are taking, they're saying we're going to use your technology, Claude, and we need you to basically allow this autonomous decision making on bombing, countries or targets, and we'll leave it up to AI, and then we'll wipe our hands clean and say like, well, we didn't make that decision. The AI made that decision, and we killed 150 people. Shit happens, and that's the fear I have of like when I hear people like Andreessen saying things like that. And it seems, you were talking on a podcast, it's like, hey, I don't introspect, but there is actually like, I think something that's going to affect us in this world tremendously. And unfortunately, I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface and see these things come into play. And, society has to wake up and say, enough's enough. Like we got to hold these people accountable. We can't just let people become billionaires and do whatever they want with our lives.
I do. This is just me speaking personally. I do think there is danger in taking emotion and self-awareness and empathy out of our judgment. So even if I use a chat GPT to write something or to review something, or I still am going back over it and making sure it sounds like me. It's conveying the message that I wanted to convey. It's giving off the impression of whatever I am trying to give to the audience or the person that I'm sending it to. I'm not just idly letting it do whatever I want it to do, whatever it wants to do, right? If I did that right now at my job, of course, I would be probably fired because, it would probably just say whatever it wants to say, right? In a lot of instances. So of course, imagine what he just said, which was, I don't believe that. I'm not introspective. I could just separate myself from that. I can't do that. Of course, I work in a caring profession on both sides all day long. I don't see myself being able to separate myself from the caring aspect. I'm a caregiver in my personal life and in my professional life. So I personally can't envision a world where things can totally operate functionally and long without being destroyed in the way that he's seeing it. And maybe we're already on that path.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
No, no, I think it's spot on because, first of all, Ted Host, what a loser. Who's reading 400 books about entrepreneurship? That's stupid. He reads 400 books, whatever.
I won't be on this weekend, but
I read 400 books on entrepreneurship. Okay, loser. Those are not a bunch of self-aggrandizing books that get you nowhere. But it's also historically wrong, right? Because when Mark Andreessen, and I agree with Ron. They say the higher the more money you make, especially when you reach like over the billionaire club, is that the things that make you happy are even more unattainable. So you become more sociopathic. You start to separate yourself from people, and you start to see yourself with this God complex. So for him to say that, one, and also if you see in these billionaires, these people can't string together a sentence. They're all like Elon Musk. Like, what? You're a billionaire. You're a CEO. You can't. I'm stupid. I don't need to read books. Anyway, but
I used to work for one that was just like. He wasn't a billionaire, but like it's crazy how they can't.
He's a wannabe.
They can't.
He's a wannabe.
He can't relate to people because that's why they can't. Talk. So
where's your driver? You don't have a driver? You don't have a private chef that lives inside of your clubhouse? Like what?
There's a correlation between. I think there's a correlation also between CEOs, or heavy correlation between CEOs and narcissism and
absolutely. This company needs me.
MPD, but
it doesn't make sense, right? Companies need people. They need the people that drive the revenue. Companies don't need CEOs.
Yeah, it's also like us as a society to like stop putting these type of people on a pedestal of like.
We have to stop equating money with power or power, money with smarts,
success,
But he says
happiness.
Exactly. I say all the time on the show. I said, look at Elon Musk. He's the richest person on this planet, and he needs to take copious amounts of drugs just to remain happy. What does that tell you about wealth? But Mark Andreessen said that 400 years ago, great men never thought about being introspective. Now this is ridiculous because I just watched the movie Hamlet. I don't know if y'all saw the movie Hamlet. But if you're up for a good cry, watch Hamlet. I watched it on the day of the Oscars. We was in the living room bawling. Now the thing about that movie is it's about William Shakespeare and his son. It's not giving away. Hamlet, the play he wrote, was about his son who died. He wrote a play about That's the point. And it just shows the real life of things happening. Now he had a line in that, a very famous line that we all know. We all went through high school. He says, "To be or not to be." That is the question. Now, that is the most introspective damn question I've ever thought. I was like, so his whole, this is a new age thing, is because you don't read. It's because you don't have any connection. And then to go on to list Freud. Freud was a bigot. One of Freud's biggest ideas was that people want to, children want to have sex with their parents and parents want to have sex with their children. The reason he thought that was because when girls were coming to him saying that I'm getting impregnated by my father, he wouldn't believe that their fathers were predators. So he had to come up with this theory that the children must want it. So this is the person, these great men, specifically palm-colored people, the great men of our society hang their intellectual hats on for any sort of like milieu of like, oh yeah, listen to these people. And it's like these are idiots. These are crazy people. That's all I gotta say. That clip, I saw it earlier this week and it pissed me off because it's like, dude, there's plenty of great thinkers. And on top of that, the people I'm sure he looks up to, like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, the reason they were able to pontificate and think about the Declaration of Independence and all these things, because they had who was working for them? Hundreds of enslaved people.
Slaves.
Yes.
Jennifer, if you had 10 people right now talking to your patients, doing the charts, picking up your groceries, cleaning your house, you could think about a whole bunch of shit. I'm just thinking about life.
I'd be daydreaming.
Daydreaming. So these people, when he says like, no great men thought like that, it's like, it's so ahistorical. This is why I can't take other people serious. But anyway, we are at time. And Doc, I had one more segment, but we're gonna let it go because we're over time. Thank you so much for coming on. We hope you come back again.
Thank you both. I enjoyed myself.
Yes, continuous conversation is very important for us, and we want to maybe have like an in-house doc as things are going on, and how we're dealing as a community. And if you would be so gracious to come back on every once in a while, we would really appreciate it.
Absolutely, yes, please. I'd love to come back.
All right.
Well, you have so much experience and knowledge on the medicine side and the mental health and the therapist. So it's like we could talk about so many different things, but
I'm determined. I don't know about smart, but
but I definitely appreciate.
How can folks find you? How can folks follow you? Do you have any events coming up? Tell folks what you got going on.
I do. I will be speaking at the Women's Health Conference with my wonderful chapter, the Union County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated on March 28th. Absolutely. At South Piedmont. I think it's still open. If you go to the Instagram or the Facebook page for Union County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, you can register for the Women's Health Conference. Let me tell her story. I'll be speaking on Where is My Pillow? Reclaiming the Right to Rest in the breakouts in the afternoon session. You can contact me via IG. I am just JUSJ Marie, JUSJ, the letter J, MARIE. Reach me there. And I'm also a counselor at Thrive Counseling Services, PLLC. You can contact me there. On Facebook, it may be hard to find me because I'm one of the Jennifer M. Montgomerys, but probably contacting me. I know, such a
very bland name, yeah.
Very bland name, but definitely contact me on IG would probably be the easiest. Yep.
Were you at the Delta? Were you at the Delta? I was gonna say, were you at the Delta event in Union County Delta event last year at the church?
Which one?
Dude, Delta's always
Bakari Sellers was like the speaker.
Oh no, I missed the that was our social action event. I had to miss that. That was our social
I was there.
Event.
I was there.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. I did have to miss. That was our social action event. Yeah.
Delta Sigma Theta is a sorority for what would y'all say? It's for, because Kappas, we don't say this. We just like we're Kappas. We are not for public service, even though we say it like public service. They're always got something going on. So folks,
absolutely.
You heard what she has going on. She clearly has a lot of downtime. Clearly, I mean, my God. But no, Doc, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and it was magnificent having you on. We cannot wait to talk to you again. We wish you nothing but the best.
And same to you both. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Folks, that was Dr. Jennifer Montgomery, an amazing breath of fresh air and knowledge and overall just power. That was fantastic having her on. What did you think, Ron?
I mean, great. There's, like I said, it's like, when we have somebody on that has such a wide background, in medicine as a pharmacist and the mental health aspect, and I feel like in this time, like mental health is super important. I
feel therapized. I feel like she therapized. Yeah. I feel more evolved. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna cry tonight. I'm gonna go sit with a pillow. I'm gonna learn about the 7 different types of rest women need. I'm starting telling women, hey, you know what, you need number 3. You need number 3. I'm gonna start telling people that.
Yeah, I mean, talking through a lot of this stuff, it's heavy, right? Like there is some, there's a sadness, which is turns into an anger when you see, you know, how that woman was treated in the hospital, right? And all of these things, and it's like, you know, and I'm an introspective person. I think about the things that I will do will have the effect of the world. And but even like, let's say I become a billionaire, right? And you know,
you're gonna lose all your introspection.
I always do. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how will I change. I mean, will I be a billionaire?
Yes,
I don't know, right? But you know, will I change? I mean, shit. You can say Payron. You can say Rob. You changed. Like, what happened?
I would. You're like, shut up, Brokey.
You said you wouldn't be this. You can see. You can pull up episode 77, right, and say like, remember when you said this? Because I don't get it. Like, I can't understand like how if somebody, and you know, I know like I said, my previous boss, he wasn't a billionaire. You know, he's probably a millionaire at this point, but it's just like this. You know, this narcissistic, this, you know, whether it's the personality disorder or just this narcissistic qualities. What I realized at one point was like, I was like, this man is like Donald Trump, and this is why he idolizes Donald Trump, because he sees himself as this person, like that's himself. These people can't talk, they can't communicate. You know, these emails look like gibberish. It's like, what are you even trying to say? I mean, you know,
look at the Epstein emails. You know, I think they say
how they talk. All of them, exactly like that.
It's all bad grammar. It's all stilted and stacked sentences and words misplaced, double colons and stuff. But I did hear that there's a psychological component to that, where it's like it's almost like I'm above you. I don't even have to live by the rules of grammar, if that makes sense. Like that's kind of how they move.
Yeah, and my observations, you know, like I said, here in Charlotte, it's very clear. Like DEI is not like going away, and maybe it is in terms of like what they're naming it,
what they're calling it. Yeah.
But there's a lot of diversity here in the technology community, both you know, women, you know, various ethnic backgrounds and whatnot. But like, there was a Women's Technology Alliance, you know, and I went to an event with and they were talking about AI, and they had a panel for women, and they were talking about you know, needing to be aware of you know, the output, right, and keeping humans in the loop, and you know, the ethicalness around it, and the bias, and being aware of the bias and the things that are built in. Is, I think I mentioned this before, you know, she put in an experiment is like, hey, I'm a mother of 2 Black kids, and then her counterpart, hey, I'm a mother of 2 white kids, and they were like, the output of the best schools, it was like, you know, for the white family, it was leaning towards private schools, and then for the Black family, it had like completely different answer, right? And it was like, you know, and public school, whatever it was, right? And so just these little things, but like women are the ones that I continuously see thinking about these things around trustworthiness, ethicalness, bias, kind of keeping these things from going completely off the rails, right? And not to say that there's not men talking about it, I talk about it, but I definitely think there's like this capitalist mindset of like, who cares, right? Like who cares if you know?
But you know what? I'm gonna pause you there, because I think it's even beyond that. I mean, look at yesterday's news with Cesar Chavez. He wasn't a billionaire. I think it's power, man. I think in our society, money equals power. But even if you don't have the money, if you have the stature,
it goes to your head. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think it's very easy to abuse, right? When you do have that power, when you do have the, you know, money, power, respect, right? Like, and if you're not introspective, like if you don't think about those things, like what am I supposed to do as like somebody who's a manager and has this power? What am I supposed to be doing and thinking about these things? And if you can ignore all that, then you can ignore morals. Then you know, like this is just a underage girl that, you know, I'm going to have a fun time with and no one's going to know about. This is just a technology that I'm going to let run wild and let it make decisions on who to kill. And, you know, it is what it is. If it makes a mistake, oh, well, I'm going to, you know, use this technology to surveil everything in everyone's life. And it's like, I think we as a society, people, the regular ass people, have to start holding people accountable and stop being these consumerist people that are just like, well, we're just going to take it. Like, you know, oh, well, like Grok and Elon Musk, he's a billionaire. He must know everything that's right for us. Or, hey, it's the government. There's nothing that we can do about, you know, about them, you know, surveilling us. Hey, we're just going to listen to everything they say. Like we're terrorists are going to kill us if we don't, you know everything that's in your phone and every single thing that you do and where you go, all of these things. And it's just like, well, if we are the people who are just going to sit here and take it, then that's it. Like, that's just it. We're dying a slow death. I think a slow death of humanity. You know, people have been talking about the end times since the beginning of times, right? The next coming of Jesus Christ. And that's being a reason of why we're ushering in a war in the Middle East right now. And all of these things, it's like, people have to wake up and be conscious, and technology will kill us. You know, we're killing the environment, and there's no sort of responsibility. You know, we're talking about our kids. I don't think the the world will end, so to speak, in our lifetime. But yeah, I mean, it's very clear that we're sucking up the Earth's resources. We're literally destroying the Earth's resources. We've built an entire world around oil, right? And a reliance on oil that is, even when we started to try to go off of it, we're talking about 200 of years from potentially even like weaning ourselves off of it. We've now said, fuck that. And we're going back to our over reliance on oil. And now here we are just blowing it up left and right. And so, like, it's crazy to me. Sorry, I had to go on a rant. It's been a couple weeks since we've been on. Obviously,
that's what I'm like, let it fly, brother. Let it fly. Because you're right. No, I'm not. I'm like, no, you got it, man. I mean, the only thing I was going to just add to your point from a few points ago was that when you were like, whether it's power and you're like, I'm going to have this fun with this young girl, or I have the technology and I'm doing this by myself. It's like, the only thing is, all these people are always surrounded by yes men. Whether it be you are a CEO that is incompetent, there are people that want to be the next CEO. So they're going to tell you whatever it takes for you to keep your job. And when you're not, when you like introspection, like Mark Andreessen, the first thing you do, whenever there's any sort of hardship, well, the first thing that you think about cutting is people, because you don't see people as people. You don't think about their families. You don't think about their paying for their mom's medical care. You don't think about their paying for their kids' college tuition. You don't think about they're going through a divorce and they're now having to split income, whatever the case may be. You see them as, I'm going to cut that because I'm a sociopath. I have separated myself from humanity. I don't see, maybe I should take the feedback of what my people at the bottom, my middle management, my folks who are my A-listers, who I might know them by name. I came, hey, how you doing? I need to sit and they gave me charts and reports and feedback of what we should do. But most times with most male-dominated corporations, my old companies do this all the time, it would be whatever the CEO said. Whatever the C-suite said. Oh, we're going to go in this direction. We're going to hire Bain Capital. They're going to come in and do a rundown. And it's like, well, hold on. We could have typed. And they don't want it to the people. And I think it's because we are in this new Gilded Age. We are in the new, the old Gilded Age was during the Industrial Revolution, and now we're at further apart wealth disparity than even the Gilded Age, when the industrialist who ran, oil and concrete and steel, the Carnegies and the Rockefellers of the times. That's just now Zuckerberg, Andreessen, Musk, and Bezos, right? It's just, these are the new industrialists of our time. It is all through tech. But just like them, what did they want to have? They wanted to have worker towns. I'm sure we all heard how Elon Musk wanted to have a worker town for Tesla, where you have to work there. Your money would be Elon Musk bucks. You would have to shop at the grocery stores. Your kids would have to go to his school. And you're basically going into slavery. There's really no way out. So yeah, all of this stuff is really interconnected that these, and then to the point of like how you don't do it alone. If you are not wealthy, there's always people around who are around Cesar Chavez or R. Kelly or Harvey Weinstein or whoever. There's always people around that know this shit, but they want to be close to the power. They want to be close to who's going to tell us. I want to be the next Cesar Chavez. I want to be the next Bill Cosby. He might break me off with a Bentley if I'm around him. I might, if this CEO gets sick or dies, I'm the COO. I want to move into that position, even though I can probably give him the harsh feedback and be able to move the company in a direction that would be more amenable to the bottom line. We're not going to do those things. And this is the problem with having patriarchal capitalism, because the thing about patriarchy is that you always have to be performing it for other men. So when you have a man like Andreessen, the weakest thing you could ever do is to second guess yourself. And how do you second guess yourself? It's when you have introspection.
Yeah,
you say,
when you looked at it, then you're soft, or
I did something wrong. Real men don't apologize. Real men aren't like, real men don't get feedback from some bitchy woman, some woman who's just talking out of her mouth. No, I make all the decisions because and he looks like a fucking thumb. He looks like a fucking thumb. But that's the thing about, and the last time I'll say this, and I'll kick it back to you. The thing about, as I said, you're always performing capitalism. There is no winner to the game. We talked earlier today about how I said this earlier on the Roots Rundown, is that there is no winner for capitalism, right? There is Elon Musk. There is no more dollars that he said that he's going to be like, you know what, I have enough. He's always going to want more money. He's won at the game of capitalism, right? Like, he's never going to be satiated. But just like that, if you ask someone who is the top man, like in your brain, and that's one of these alpha bro type guys, who is the top man? Oh, he's muscular, he's got all this money, he's pimping out a bunch of hoes, he's got a big house. Okay, then you just pause. Who is that person?
The Andrew Tates of the world. Like, you know what I mean?
Andrew Tate is not that person. Andrew Tate is not the richest person in the world.
Yeah,
Andrew Tate,
who is that person? I mean, Elon Musk isn't muscular. In his mind, he is.
There you go. So and then they start getting caught in the contradictions. Well, Donald Trump's popular. Look at Donald Trump. He's fat.
They got to turn him into an AI character.
Right.
Like all the
rainbow on a flag.
And I'm like, wait, that's never been Donald Trump.
Is that but just like how there is no end to capitalism, you always have to keep going. Same with patriarchy. There is no top man. But the one thing that there is you will always end up with a white man. Because it's always about who's the biggest provider, who can provide the most. Well, in this society, who has the most money? White man. Who holds the most highest position? White man. Who's the most judges and CEOs and venture capitalists, and who gets the most venture capitalist money is white men. So even you'll always end up, when you start to distill it down, this is how these things are tentacles of white supremacy. And when you think about who's the best man or who's the best capitalist, same thing. You'll always end up with a white man. So like when we talk about deconstructing some of this shit and stop trying to equate someone's money to equal their smarts or their character or their morality, then I think we can have a more introspective community conversation about maybe it should be who uplifts the most people. Maybe it should be about who changes the world for the better.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think there's a market for that. Like, and that's why I'm like, I think that I do talk about things about, the ethicalness and the bias and stuff like that, because I think that there are people that respect that, and maybe that's not going to be the quickest or the most. I don't need to be. I don't feel like the reason why I feel like I want to be a billionaire or have money is, and I don't say want to be, but to be honest and to put it out there, I want to be able to change the world for the better. Like that's my ultimate goal. Like I think that the money is power. I think you need a certain amount of money. I think Mackenzie Scotts. I think there was more Mackenzie Scotts in the world. The Melinda Gates. In the world. I think that you do more with that money. I think the Elon Musk could end homelessness. Like there's just so much and things. I'm not saying again. I do think you need some money, and I think that people like Hakeem Hakeem Jeffries or Cory Booker, and they're taking APAC money, and that is what influences them because that's how they fundraise, and so you have to bend the knee to them or shut up on. Keep bum on a topic because that's where the money comes from. I think, unfortunately, like money is king. And I think, to this question in the chat, how do you recommend we hold them accountable? Money. Stop spending money. Like, we don't have to, be using X, right? We don't have to be using Grok. We don't have to go to Target, like change our habits. And it's like, I get mad when I see, a black person on social media and they're like, I still go to Target, Like, so my mom, she's like, I cut back on Target. I still go sometimes. I'm like, all right. But at the same time, I'm like, there's, I don't really see like a lot of, white folks or Indivisible or anybody saying like, hey, let's boycott Target. Because collectively, like if we stopped, like Target would be feeling it even harder. They're clearly feeling it. They think that they're going to solve it some other way. I don't think they'll ever get back to that. But again, they're all trying to get they're trying to get these margins. They're trying to hit these new numbers. And it's like, I mean, in the grocery stores, right? Like they're working for profit. They're trying to hit these numbers. And it's like, well, we got to get year over year. We got to do 2% better or 1% better. And it's like, well, how do we do that? Well, now we have to eliminate jobs, and now we have to, leverage AI. And it's like, I struggle with that, like, because I'm building something that changes the way that people operate. And I think it's inevitable, but it's like, I don't know. I honestly, I do think that these billionaires are looking at technology and they think they're playing God because they're not. I don't think they're truly void of introspection. They might call it something else, but they're clearly looking at each other, talking to each other like, we have to build a new society, universal basic income. Like, we have to have these, what do they call worker community? What do you call those? The communities, the towns that they build.
Worker towns.
Worker town. Like, that's insane, right? But like, they're basically saying this is inevitable. This is how we're going to do it.
But that's
the only thing that matters.
That's nothing but plantation owners. I mean, that's the same sort of a logic that plantation owners like, we have to do this. We gotta build little towns for these enslaved people, and a place where I go rape them at, a place where they have the babies at, a place where they eat, but they're always gonna be picking our cotton. We'll make sure they're working. We make sure they'll get one day off a week, and we will feed them, 3 pounds of meat and a peck of corn. So like, all of this is like, none of it's new. None of it's new. None of it's good. And who the fuck are they to say we need to invent a new society? This is why democracy doesn't work for them. This is why, what's his face? Alex Karp from Palantir was like, we got to change the way women vote, specifically Democratic women vote. Listen, democracy does not work for billionaires because the whole point of the government is the transfer of wealth. And when you tell that to a Republican, they'll say, you say, oh, no, the government is not for the transfer of wealth. Yes, it is. You transfer our tax dollars to the 1%. What we're saying is our tax dollars should be going back to us. We should have single payer healthcare, same way we have single payer police force. Police forces are they're not defunded like public schools where teachers are buying their own books and crayons. Police officers are not buying their own guns and bullets. We fund that shit. Right. So with that same way, that same single payer police force, we should have single payer healthcare where the single payer is the taxpayer, and that takes care of all of us. Yeah. But the transfer of wealth has been for these Mark Andreessen types, the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos, and the Zuckerbergs of the world, who feel like that they are above reproach because we keep wanting to be like them.
We're like, oh, you got to, and they tell you, hey, you need to work, you get another job, or hey,
I worked hard,
get 2 jobs, and exactly, like you have to just you don't have enough money, then why aren't you getting 2 jobs? And you can't live
avocado toast.
Yeah, stop drinking Starbucks. Michelle Tafoya, gas, we just have to deal with gas being more expensive. Take one less trip to Starbucks every week.
Yeah,
I mean, like, it's like they keep telling us, like, you just need to work harder and just keep
buying
working.
Those apple bottom jeans and boots with the fur. That's on you. That's on you.
So they and then there's the society is like, yeah, you're right. Like, why should we be funding people's healthcare? Why should we be funding if people get sick? They need to figure it out themselves. Why should we be funding, people making sure the kids are fed, at school every day? Why should we be funding, our neighbors having opportunities? And then they'll be like, well, and then when you have a poor community. And when selling drugs is an opportunity, a realistic opportunity to get money quick, or when stealing and these things, and then you wonder, and then it starts to creep over into your neighborhood next door, and you wonder why. It's like, wow, is it really that surprising? Like, I mean,
that's when they double down on. That's why we need more police.
And it's just a cycle.
This is the thin blue line flag. The thin blue line represents.
And then what do they do? Capitalize off of criminals, or so then they get, there's an incentive of criminalizing people and putting them into the prison pipeline.
They actually
building these for-profit prisons.
People they arrest as well.
And now here we go with the and so like
asset forfeiture, right? But like all this,
I'm at the point.
Yeah,
I'm at the point where it's just like, you and I can sit here and talk about this, and there's people that are becoming more aware, and whether they listen to us or they're considering themselves liberal, and I think more people are becoming more progressive or whatever. But we have this entire, right wing, white conservative, mostly white, but they're conservatives who just keep going into drilling into these things, and it's like, if you're not going to hold people accountable, if you're not going to try to actually explore and understand like some of the roots of these problems, then we're just doing the same thing over and over. Like, it's like,
we are. I mean, the whole concept of that's why I say conservatism is inherently anti-black. It's inherently anti-black. During Reconstruction era, the conservatives wanted to go back to enslavement. During they were the ones that created the Ku Klux Klan. During segregation or desegregation, they were the ones who were against desegregation, the conservatives. So like conservatism has always been inherently anti-black. So even when we say like conservative, we have a conservative strain within the black community, what we're really saying is we are still dealing with patriarchy and homophobia in the black community. That's what I think we need to be clear about that, because when we say conservative, like it allows racist white people to be like, so you're conservative too. It's like, no, we are also indoctrinated to hate ourselves because of you, and that's the black reality.
Yeah. Like the black conservatives, I know they're always talking about trans, and like I'm like, fuck you, like how many trans people like do
you're never gonna be able to retire. You're never gonna be able to retire. You're worried about a fucking trans kid playing a sport states away that you don't even fucking know. You're never gonna be able to have a moment's rest after you're 60 because of the wealth transfer to the permanent wealth transfer, which was in the big beautiful bullshit bill. Permanent. And you are worried about trans people. Your life, because we're young right now. We're in our 30s and 40s. We're young right now. When you're 60, you're like, damn, this is not my grandmama's 60. Fuck, it ain't. And I bet you, well, at least we ain't got trans people playing basketball. Like, it's so fucking stupid. It's so fucking dumb.
All 10, 100, whatever, 1,000, whatever it may be, right? It's like,
who cares?
Has absolutely no effect on your, it has absolutely no effect on anything, but they've successfully been able to trick you. And it's like, I don't know how you wake people up from this. It's like, and that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. And that's where I'm at now. And it's like, I mean, shit, like all of a sudden you're like, we need to be, disarming Iran. It's like, wait, the fuck, y'all weren't even talking about Iran. Like,
right.
And it's like, oh, a little short, like, it's like the gas is going up and they're filling it in their pockets. And you still have people, it's like, it's hard, a little bit of patriotism,
This is what I started the Roots Rundown with this morning. The gas average today across the United States is $3.89, and someone said, "Hold on," and then someone said, "Don't even use that number to tell people how bad it is. You got to tell them the diesel number, because that's how you get your lettuce, your milk, your food, your clothing. That's what's real. Gas as of last night, Rom, for diesel was $5.14. This morning when I did the Roots Rundown, it was $5.75."
Yeah, that's insane.
That's crazy.
Catch that episode, because it's like the one thing that Trump had going for, like, because they can't. I mean, presidents generally don't control
the gas prices,
the cost. But when you start a war in the Middle East and you cut off 20%, and then you blow it up, because last night I'm assuming it went from 517 to 580 because Israel, according to Trump, he didn't know, decided to blow up one of the natural gas, and then Iran retaliated, and they're literally on the same fucking island or same area, Qatar, and so now they're just blowing the shit up, and it's like that was the one thing he had going. I was like, damn, gas finally came down to $2.50 here in North Carolina, because it was always $3 for the first 12 months of its term or whatever, and I said, not bad. Oh shit, $2.50. It's $3.60. It's like $3.69 now, and that's just within a matter of 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, so that's out the window. And it's and they're saying, oh, it's still cheaper than Biden days. First off, the reason why it went up during Biden was a global. It had a lot to do with COVID, and a lot to do with other things that were going on.
The point is, who cares? Because your guy said he would bring it down. It's going the wrong fucking direction. That's getting to all that shit with them is a waste of your fucking breath, bro.
It is, and that's why it's driving me nuts, because they're playing mental
Biden was this. Your guy said it'd be 99 cents.
The mental 99 fucking cents. The mental gymnastics, and it's he killed Obama's Iran nuclear deal, and then because it sucked, and then they were in talks, and then somebody was pointing it out. I was listening to his morning. It was he could have had a deal better than what Obama had in their negotiations. He was close to saying I did something better than Obama.
The Iranians, they're giving in all over the place. But then, just like what happened with Hamas, when they would go try to negotiate, when they found a place for them to negotiate, they killed them.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. It's the same.
And so then, how do you? Again, we talked about this when the day after they struck. It's well, how do you go into a negotiation ever again if you're going to violate that trust, whether it's France or an ally, or whether it's an adversary?
You saw what Europe's saying. Europe is saying, "Hey, we are not involved with this shit. This is," and they're using the right language. They're saying this is a war of choice. And on top of that, you've been shitting on NATO since you got back in. No, we don't need NATO. Break us up. Now all of a sudden, you got way ahead of your fucking skis. You got more casts coming back that are draped with flags, more than you want to tell people. And you also gave it away when Lindsey Graham was when he's we're killing the riot people. He said that we're only making those THAAD missiles, those interceptor missiles, and those big ones. We're only making about 48 a year, and we've given a lot of our cachet to Israel already. So you got these $2 million missiles versus Iran's Predator ones. They're $250,000. They can send 1,000 of them bitches, and they even brought out their real shit yet.
Yeah, I think the veil is lifted, the mask is off. I think that there has been this idea that the United States is this invincible. I think that a month ago that the United States had portrayed. They successfully have been portrayed as the superpower that keeps things in order. You get bases all over the world, and and now it's wait a minute, that facade is starting to, and I think to America's detriment, and depending on how you look at it at this point, right? It might be the end of the empire, might not be a bad thing, right? But that's gone. That facade is that's, you're exposed to your weaknesses, United States weaknesses in terms of the military, in terms of soft power, in terms of all of these things that they've got rid of Voice of America and the rate the propaganda wing of they've got rid of the all of these certain little things that actually mattered are gone, because they think these people, the Hexas and the Trumps and all these people they're surrounded with, thinks that brute force is king, and that's all that matters is brute force. That violence is the only thing that matters. And I obviously disagree.
But don't forget, I saw this. I think consciously posted. He said that You know, the Roman Empire, when it collapsed, also was the biggest, strongest, military in the world, and collapsed with that because it was ran by fucking morons. So, like, just because we have this high tech, super strong military doesn't mean anything. And I think people they're sick of it, right? Like, you're gonna send your sons and daughters to go die for fucking Israel because they have this imperialistic goal for expansion, and people just don't have an appetite for that shit no more. And they said the phone lines for conscientious objectors has rose 1,000%, because to be a conscientious objector, they said every month is always, no matter, even if during buying those conscientious objectors, it happens every time. But the thing about it is, once you put that note in, your commanding officer has to then basically sit you down, like you can't be deployed.
Yeah, and if there's going to be blowback, you can't. There's no necessarily. They got rid of the mechanisms for whistleblowing. Got rid of inspector generals. They got rid of JAG lawyers who are actual lawyers and ethical, right? So like, there's all of these things that they've broken down, and I think.
But these are from the troops. These are the troops themselves.
Yeah, the troops. Yeah, I'm saying like the troops. They can't even go to a JAG lawyer and be like, yo. Because those people, they're going to face repercussions from saying something, right? Like at this point, like,
so once you do the conscientious objector thing, you're like, hey, I'm not doing it. And then the reason why they're even saying it, they're saying like they're not worried about their lives. I think that bombing of that school, they said that was the reason. Like, you know what? We're not killing these fucking innocent people. Like, we're not doing that shit. And I don't know where there's going to come of it. So there's going to be a clash within the military.
That's what I'm saying, that this whole AI, this autonomous decision making in terms of like bombs, like they're trying to eliminate it from having a person to make that decision. Because to actually say that, like, yes, there's going to be what they call, I think, collateral damage of what's acceptable. It used to be a person that would, when they started doing drones, it used to be a person that would sit there and say, well, we're going to take out this high value target. We're going to kill 40 other innocent people in the process. Somebody actually had to make the conscious decision to say that's acceptable collateral damage. You to eliminate that, and then you can say, well, you put on AI or an algorithm, whether it's AI
these are cowards, man.
A calculation, and it says like, well, there's a 90% chance that this target is in here and it's going to kill 150 people. It's acceptable, right? Or however you want to do it, and then there's nobody really responsible for that. Right, you just wiped away responsibility, so no one ever has to be accountable.
Doesn't that sound like Trump? Doesn't that sound like Hegseth? This is who they are. Their personality traits, right? Like Trump hates accountability. Hegseth hates accountability. All these Republicans hate accountability. That's why they vote Republican, because they don't want accountability. And there's nothing more cowardly. And I don't care what anybody says. It's a cowardly to sit behind a desk and push buttons and kill someone thousands of miles.
That's why they hate Me Too. That's why they hated Me Too. They hated seeing
Black Lives Matter.
They hated seeing Harvey Weinstein being held accountable. They hated seeing all of these men being held accountable, right? And they hate seeing police be held accountable for police brutality, right? Like, right. It was always, regardless, no matter what you saw, you could see it would kill somebody.
Word to Afro
for
man.
9 minutes, kill somebody slowly for 9 minutes in front of you, and it's a
question.
There was always, so like this whole, like, again, it's driving me nuts because these people are now talking about you got to be a patriot. It's in their pockets, and they're. But I think that these margins, I think they take it for granted that like all these Republicans are still going to, and I am thinking that there's that 10% of like losing that. I actually do think that that's happening. I don't know. I think there's certain things that they're trying to, voter suppression, and I don't think it's going to work out the way that they're trying to intend, because there's just like the margins aren't there. So it will be interesting to see how they do it both before and after the results, right? I think that after the results and not certifying, I think those things are more likely, regardless of the turnout. But what I will say is, like, we're seeing polls on CNN that says 100% of MAGA Republicans support Donald Trump, and it's like, all right, hold the fuck up. So first off, like, let me look. I try to find the actual poll because I'm like, okay, they surveyed 700 people,
Right.
and then MAGA Republicans. So, like, how many of these conservatives are identifying as Republicans or conservative, and how many are actually identifying as MAGA Republicans, whether it's 10 or 100? But if you're identifying as a MAGA Republican, yeah, you're probably going to be fucking in support of Trump. It could be literally 10 people that are MAGA Republicans. It's like, why are you putting out polls that you're, and you're not even putting out the data that how you're coming to these conclusions. So, I think they're starting to kind of manipulate which they always do, but that's extreme, right? Like, to manipulate and say, yeah, he's got 100% support for the Iran war from MAGA Republicans. The fuck is a MAGA Republican? Like, who are you registering to vote as a MAGA Republican? Right. Or are you just picking up the phone and say, I identify as a MAGA Republican and I will be on Trump's nuts no matter what he does. Right. So, yeah.
No, hey man, brother, this is something that we've been doing this for over a year now, and it's only gotten worse. We called it. It's only gotten worse. It only will continue to get worse. Excuse me. But like I've always been saying, what are white people going to do about it? Because at the end of the day, like that's who has to stand up to it. I know there's a No Kings rally coming up.
Even if it was things like, but like even Target, like if more these liberals, white folks join in on that, it would be a lot more impactful. And that would be wielding even more power, right? Not just the black dollar, but the blue dollar, right? Unions, right? Like, unions have power, but they're not using the most I've seen out of the unions was, digging into Cesar Chavez's past, right? And I find it interesting, like, yes, as I learn more, I'm like, that's wild. But it's crazy to me that they're holding this man who's been dead for 30, 40 years more accountable than like everything that's happening. And so, anyways, unions. I don't know, dude. I get tired of watching the acrobats of like. I do see like the Tucker Carlsons and the what's her name, Maggie. What's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And look, they're clearly posturing, and they have for their own selves, but it's something that it's fracturing. But now I don't know, man. Anyways. I digress.
No. Hey, sometimes you got to vent, brother, and I'm glad that you're venting today. But we're gonna keep it going. Are you able to do Sunday? I know you man around.
Yeah,
town.
I'm gonna do.
Okay.
I'm gonna be around this Sunday.
So I guarantee you, a bunch of shit's gonna happen from now till Sunday. So we won't have an interview, and we can have a full tank because it's just crazy, man. But like again, it's up for white people to do some shit. And I keep going back to that because that's where it is. Y'all built this fucking system. The system. I'm not talking about the country. I'm talking about the institutions: voting, presidency, Senate, Congress. So all this shit is your creation. You're overemphasized. You're over-indexed. It is on you.
Yeah, it's the power that they have to one, acknowledge that they have,
right?
And it's not saying
white privilege. What do you mean?
But like, it's like building the coalition, and it's not saying it in a negative way. It's more like we're trying to wake you up that if you did take the same actions that Black folks took against Target and joined in or created other movements that have more that you're listening more to like what actually has a cause and effect, like the No Kings rally. It's still impotent, right? Like it's like, I mean, what has come out of that directly? You know what I mean?
Tell me right now.
But like canvassing is beneficial, right? But like, is it that's still the traditional expectation that like we're just going to get out of this through voting, right? We're just going to get out of this through, you know.
To be fair, Lorena earlier today during the Roots rundown said something similar. She said, "Well, we can vote and protest." I said, "I hear you, sis," and she can confirm what I said earlier. I said, you know, that's like 20 years ago what y'all should have been doing, right? Voting the right way and protesting in the streets. Who was president 20 years ago? Was it Bush? 2006? Yeah, Bush. Like, we're at a point, you need to go to Klan rallies.
Like you need infiltrate, to go,
like we're at that, you know what I mean, Ron? Like I hear all the like we're gonna do the no case. Y'all gotta start going to like fraternal order of police meetings. You know what I mean? Like you gotta start going to the white citizens council meetings.
I mean that's to be honest, I mean that's real. I know it's like it's easier said than done, but like, you know, and I would love to be wrong in November. But like I said, we got to operate under the assumption that like it's not going to be a free and fair election, right? And so like, what are we going to do when they're not certifying the results in certain states? Like what? And when I say we, you know, the Chuck Schumers and the, you know, Hakeem Jeffries, like the people who are in power, they're saying like, hey, we're just going to vote out of this, and affordability is going to get us out of it. Like running on affordability is going to get us out of, running on anti-Trump's going to get us out of this. No, because it gets worse, right? And when it gets worse, it gets harder. And so you do, you know, people are going to violence begets violence. You know, it's going to be more than just infiltration and sabotage. And I know it sounds crazy, but like I think that's the reality. I mean, history will tell us that it's not just movies and what we see in the movie. This is history. Like what you actually have to do to get out of these things. And like voting was not like if voting got us out of everything, voting would have got us out of slavery before it lasted for 400 years, right? Like it would have got us like, you know, when our mothers were born, like they would have been recognized as a full person and been able to vote, right? Like how could voting get us out of something that we couldn't do? You know what I'm saying? Like
right. like all this shit, like it's gonna take, and like the question earlier from Liz, like, you know, what do we got to do to hold people accountable? Because it's more than politicians, right? This is what we talked about last year. What is fascism according to Benito Mussolini? Is when the corporate interests in the state become one. Remember when they swore on all those like tech people into like the military? Remember that shit? They were like they had like military.
The ceremony, whatever they
remember that shit. Like we fucking forgot that shit. Like that's just fucking crazy. Like so, like you have to understand that. It's more than just we're going to vote these motherfuckers out. It's more than just, you know, we're going to protest them. It's the people that own our politicians. They own our politicians. They need to wear fucking like NASCAR suits with who owns them, right? Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and Boeing and fucking Philip Morris, whoever the case may be.
Yeah, and the tech bros, the technocracy, like all this stuff, like I think it's an absolute threat. I mean, me being aware of the technology and what the capabilities are is like, it's scary, right? Like, and the people that we're giving that power to, you know, the Palantirs and the Elon Musk, and then these people are, you know, worth trillions of dollars. And it's like, you can't, how do you stop that? And it is something that
it's going to take violence. I know people don't like to hear that. It's going to take violence. Not from me or from Rom, but people will get violent, and it will be white people that get violent because they've already been. I mean, we are talking about the boy from North Carolina that got killed at Mar-a-Lago. Like, it's happening, like, but there's a reason why the media isn't covering it, because they want to spoon feed you information, right? There's a reason they're not telling you how many troops are actually dying right now. There's a reason they're not telling you how bad we're doing this war, because they're trying to keep the peace. Because if people were able to, as you said earlier, let the veil fall to realize that this fucking president is wearing no clothes and he is illegitimate, that means the whole fucking system that has been legitimizing him for 10 years is illegitimate. That means the media that's been legitimizing him is illegitimate. The financiers and the bankers and all the whole thing, it's all propped up. And if we believe it, all of this shit is built on if we believe it.
Yeah.
We can't look at Donald Trump as a melting, artery clogged, rapist, pedophile, because we have to look at him as a president first. Other countries are like, no, our president did what? Fuck him.
That's why they're taking. That's why they're taking over the media, and it's a lot harder in 2026, right? But you got to. That's why they're spending an absurd amount of money to control, the CBSs and all of these in there, and and they're not even trying. Like they're trying to buy it out, but like they'll get on TV and kind of just be like, yeah, like they're not even like trying to hide it. Like we're just gonna kill people and it's just what it is. We're gonna be very lethal and anyways. And you see where Trump said, hey, we've taken out all their systems, we've taken out all their ground defense and air defense, and then a couple hours later, like the F-35 was shot down. The first F-35 was shot down, and it's like, and I think that there's like the people in the military. I think there's a lot of people that went in out of necessity. I think there's a lot of people that are in there for noble reasons, and I think that those people have to start making hard decisions. Like in the military, like this is a window of like you really start having, like you were saying, like have to start blowing the whistle and like realizing that like we as in the military are now being used as weapons and becoming terrorists in uniform, right? Because and so I hate to see these service members die at the beginning of this war for what? I mean, and so
I do not support the troops. I'm going to be very honest.
How can you support them? I think, like I said, there's a window that you need to get the fuck out now, or like you need to be like, or you're in it, dude. If your oath was to the Constitution, like you were supposed to be lawful.
This
and
is
once that's
quite
out the
literally
window,
an illegal war. Like, so you're now fighting a war that Congress did not, which is irrelevant. I mean, to the point that little girls being dead, but like. By you putting, to your point, Ron, putting your hand on the Bible for the Constitution, this is quite literally an illegal war. You're fighting this because Netanyahu and Lindsey Graham go to Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth to do this shit. Now, there's a reason for the past 40 years no president has done this. But now you up there, and I saw this video of this brother. I don't know if it's old or new, but he had this helmet on. I think he was in a tank. He's like, I'm sick of y'all trying to say that, like, why aren't I, defending America? If you don't like America, fuck America. It's like, nigga, you don't even know why you're doing this.
Yeah. And Benjamin Netanyahu, like, he's been saying it for 40 years. And here's the thing: the other thing that people aren't thinking about. The military's been playing Fox News and nothing but Fox News on their bases for the past maybe 20 years. Yeah. They're being propagandized, right? And like, and I don't know to like what degree. It's hard to really truly understand, and I'm not like necessarily excusing it, but it is something to need to be aware of, because these people are basically thinking they're doing something noble, and they're doing the right thing. And but when you start a war and you blow up 150 schoolgirls, I think that immediately should raise a red flag, right? And then you learn that it was a double tap,
right, within 40 minutes. But there's a video. The last thing I'll say is that there's a video from the Iraq invasion, and there's this Iraqi man, and he's talking to the troops. This is 2004, 5, whatever. And they're like, what the fuck? Like, do you feel like you're actually doing something? Like, do you think you're, like, he's talking that cash money shit to these troops. And you can copy and paste what these troops were saying to the same shit is being told now. We're here to bring democracy and to liberate. And he's like, dude, like, what? You are on our land with guns in our face. If you really think about it like that, like indigenous people, we are invaders in their land, killing them, their children, their babies, guns in their face, and we have to say, because we love you. It is the biggest rapist mentality. Imperialism is rape. Colonialism is rape. All this shit is a rapist mentality. They're being led by an illegal fraudster rapist, and I don't want us to forget that as we sign off. But folks, we're at 2 hours. We're gonna let y'all go.
And you saw what happened with Israel. with the gang rape that they caught on tape, and they're prosecuting, and then they just basically excuse it, and it's like, and
it's a safe haven for sexual assaulters.
That's where we had, and you're basically saying that like it's acceptable. Yep. You're going to be pardoned. You're going to be excused because that's a form of torture. That's a form of intimidation. That's what they want people to do. And then, here in the United States, people were held accountable for. People were held accountable for things like that. But now, once those things start to trickle away, and then you're basically allowing raping underage. When you're raping children, you are allowing people to be killed indiscriminately. You're opening that door up, right? And that's why I said I think they're trying to change the age to 14. They're normalizing like 14-year-old children to be sexually assaulted, abused, raped, impregnated.
Oh yeah.
They want these kids to get pregnant, these girls to get pregnant at 14.
Yeah.
And just start, creating babies.
Rom, right? You need to worry about the trans people. Worry about them. Don't worry about all these white men who, as Tim Tebow, who's a right-winger himself, said, the majority of people who are doing this are fathers, and 90+% are white men who are married and Christian.
I'd be more concerned with your sons being in a bathroom with a regular ass man, right? Like in a bathroom. Like take
it from Tim Tebow. The people to worry about are white men, and he's a white man who is on the other side, and he says the biggest problem are white men. I'm listening to him. Fuck it. Y'all want to believe fucking you're eating cats and dogs. I'm gonna say Tim T. I'm gonna get a shirt that says Tim Tebow was right.
You're gonna take it. I'd rather listen to the man that's in the Epstein file 55,000 times. All right, man. These people are fucking nuts. And fucking disgusting. So,
yep. Folks, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Radical Crew podcast and platforms. This is how we maintain and grow our network. It has been we have been growing like leaps and bounds. I know Ron all over the country. He hasn't seen the numbers. The numbers have been numbered. It's the best numbers anybody's ever seen. They're all over the place. So please make sure you share and subscribe. Tell a friend and tell a friend. And of course, capitalist. We talk about them. You guys could. You see the barcode. Dude just took a shot. Get $8. It goes a very long way. Allows us to maintain this really cool platform, bring on more guests.